Here again, 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you for being here. I want to talk today about generational blessings. I want you to repeat that out your mouth, if you will. Come on, say it. Generational blessings. I, for many years, have heard of generational curses, and many of you have as well. And many of us are afraid of generational curses. I mean, we're just intimidated by this thing, and it's very real. There are things that transfer down. It's called iniquitous patterns, patterns that transfer down from generations prior to this generation, to another generation. And one of the biggest problems of generational curses is the silence factor. That's when we keep secrets and we don't approach it, and we just let it go and run rampant into the next generation, to the next generation of your children, and so forth and so on. I'll give you an example of a generational curse. It's like your great grandmother had a baby out of wedlock. So then your grandmother had a baby out of wedlock. Then your mother had a baby out of wedlock. And then here you come and you have a baby out of wedlock. It is something that seems to be an iniquitous pattern. It is something that is an iniquity. An iniquity, let me give you this real quick. Iniquity is different from just a sin, which means to miss the mark, or a transgression, which means an activity that you intentionally do, knowing that you're wrong. And iniquity is defined as bent. So when you see the word iniquity, it means bent. Now, like the shaping of an arrow, where it has a straight aerodynamic shape to it that causes it to cut through straight to its target. Now, when you take the arrow and you bend the tip of it, and you put a bend on it, it now cannot cut through the air as properly as it should, reaching its point. So it will be bent, flying to reach a goal, but will not reach the goal ever because it's off course. It's bent. It is totally bent. And so what happens is iniquity causes us to be bent as we're focusing on a goal, as we're focusing to go, because no one finished a project before you in your family, you won't finish it. And when someone comes and breaks a curse in a family, that person has a very powerful ability to take what was bent and then disregard it, meaning actually replace it with a new mindset. That's what it means to have a new mindset. And once that mindset is set, then they hit the target. Now, that's a generational curse. Generational curse is different from a generational blessing. I have, just like many of you, have been in situations where the focus is the curse. But what about the blessing? What about the blessing? The parent didn't do you well. They didn't treat you right. They stopped loving you. They didn't do any of these things, but they taught you some very powerful things. I learned some things from just those in my life who probably were not consistent enough to be considered carrying a strong force in my life, but they have blood to me, connection to me. And there were benefits that I gained from them. There were things that I learned. I learned how to work with my hands. And contrary to popular belief, I've done all kind of work with my hands. I've worked in gardens. I've fixed my own car. I have worked in body shops. I have painted, put up paneling. If you remember paneling back in the day, we would take and put paneling up, and now you do drywall. But I've done all of that. My father had a church, and we would go in the building, all three buildings, and go paint them and fix them up, get on very high ladders, changing light bulbs, all kinds of things. Those were things that I learned, and that helped me even right now. I believe in order. I believe in cleanliness. I believe in different things. Those things were blessings that were passed down to me. Just so many other things. Just even the right to have access to God, to worship God, to go before Him. You know, my whole family, thank God, and in a very real sense, have been Christians, if you will. And so I grew up in this thing. Now I had to make my own choice and my own decision, and I did. And I'm grateful I did. But those blessings were being afforded to me because I am of the generation to receive the blessing. I am a third generational classical and at one point Pentecostal preacher. I am that guy who just carried that blessing from here on down. And so here we are. I hope that those who get blessings from me that receive from me will be able to carry it on to the next generation and on to the following generation. Blessings last 1,000 generations. Curses, and they say 3 to 4 generations, the scriptures say. But that's because after it's identified and all the process it takes for it to turn around, it takes about 3 or 4 generations. But I want to encourage you today that it doesn't have to be 3 to 4 generations if you will stop focusing on the curse and put your energy on the blessing. God has great things for you, great things for your bloodline. I'm telling fathers today, stand up and be men. Stand up and be fathers. Father your children. Take the blessing from your father, no matter if he was there or not. Trust me, just if he was there or not, just take the blessing from him and continue on. Say, this was the benefit that I gained from that DNA, and I refuse to walk in the curse of that DNA. Women, do the same. I mean, seriously. Many of us are fatherless. Many of you are fatherless. You don't know your fathers and different things like that. Trust me, if you can just take and focus on the blessing, discover what's good about your family, about your bloodline, and live off of that. Amen? God bless you. Have an absolutely tremendous day today. You're going to be blessed from here on out. Just focus on the blessing. Amen? Follow me on Twitter and follow me and like me on Facebook, okay? Bless you. Bye-bye.